both have been tremendous quarterbacks. We think that both are capable of leading our team to a championship. So.
All righty, welcome in on this Friday, September the 2nd. Dennis Fithian with you here, Michigan football today. It's a pleasure to be with you. Get ready to talk some Maize and Blue. They've got their opener tomorrow. We are that close inside of 24 hours and everything else. So we've been counting down these days. And congratulations. It is here. That was Jim Harbaugh there at the outset talking about championships. And this year, there was a post on the Wolverine Den, the Maize and Blue review, and somebody was indicating, it was kind of a throwaway comment, but, you hear it a lot during the offseason, like, oh, man, this thing's really dragging on. I can't wait for football. Everybody says, sure, you can't wait for football. As soon as it ends, you can't wait, till it starts again. But this year, it was different from the last nearly 20 years. Michigan, they did win the Big Ten. The jokes about not knowing where Indianapolis is at, and I can't hear you because of the rings. I mean, all of that, with the realization that they were able to beat Ohio State and then validated by going to Indianapolis and winning the Big Ten and then going to the college football playoff. It was different for me. I came back and said, this offseason, it went by pretty fast. And it's the whole thing is go by very slow. And maybe it's just because it gets tedious when it comes down to people. They'll say in previous years to this year, if you talked about Michigan, winning, and it'd always be like, they'd have that trump card. Winning what? Winning the Big Ten. It's been, and that was a trump card. And it was like the same thing, beating Ohio State. Beat Ohio State? What are you talking about? Indianapolis, the college football playoff. And it was repetitive. And I think that's where it just made things like over and over. It was kind of a torture chamber, the off season, for the previous to this year. And it wasn't like that this year. No, there was some, it wasn't all smooth sailing. You had the name, image, and likeness. You had Harbaugh doing a couple different things that, like flirting, looking like he was going to take off to the NFL. That was real for, the story was out there for like a month straight, but then it became real, like for at least one day, maybe 2 days, where you thought, the Harbaugh is gone. So it wasn't completely all smooth sailing, but here we are. And so you can relish one more day of Michigan being the champs. And now they have to defend that, and they got to go out there and hit the field. The good news is I think that we all know, those of you that have been paying attention, that it's really, these games are great. And you're ready for tomorrow. And, it's really exciting from a lot of different reasons, which I'll go over. By the way, if you're out there and watching this, it's great to be back. And I had to take a hiatus for a couple of days because the power was out here at the Peach Mountain Studios, but it's back, and feeling pretty good about that. Took the show on the road yesterday to get out because I had to get back and talk a little bit about the opener coming up on Saturday, and we'll get to all of that coming up. But you get one more day to kind of sit back and enjoy it. And it wasn't, I was watching Penn State at Purdue, and West Lafayette was lit. Ross 8, was on fire last night. People were going crazy. It was a pretty good game. Purdue with a chance to win that game. Couldn't run out the clock at the end. And, Penn State made some big plays, one before the half, and they were able to make some big plays there at the end, and they win the game. There was a interception that Purdue made, and they took it to the house. It was the best play of the game. The guy puked afterwards, everything else, but it was at the pregame I was watching. All the guys there on Fox, and it was that no less than Urban Meyer, who didn't seem as cocky, being back up there. One thing that, Herb's always had was a real cockiness for everything he was going to say. Why not? The way that he had won in college football. But, he was knocked out. At least I think everybody else looking at him like, yeah, you're not so cocky anymore, are you, Urban? But the one time he said, yeah, these games are like scrimmages, sometimes when you're playing. And he was saying that it couldn't be a scrimmage between Penn State and Purdue because, they had to really bring it. They had to hit harder. They had to go a little after it. And Meyer was talking about when he was a coach in college that, yeah, he didn't tell his guys that when they were playing these scrimmages. And, those are when you get a big fat point spreads, you got that going on. We know it. But, as I just sit here today, it's a very exciting day. If you're somebody that likes to go to Ann Arbor and experience the entire day, it's, there's nothing like it. It's great. I'm envious of you being able to do that. If you go down and, there's some people that they'll have the pre-tailgate tonight, just getting everything ready. The menu, the equipment, and they have to, because it's, that sort of undertaking when they get down there for a 12 o'clock game, they might be up before the sun's even coming up. So, but as much as you can go through, and somebody say, I'd just rather stay home and watch the game on my high def. I got my food here, and got the bathroom right down the hall. It's great, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for any time that I've ever gone to a game, it doesn't matter what game that I've gone to, but Michigan for sure, like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, even when you stayed up, maybe you're late the night before, going down to the golf course, and then going into the game, even as hot as it's going to be tomorrow, and then afterwards staying around and watching the games, maybe not getting home till, I don't know, 8 o'clock, when you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it is, it's something, man. You got to there's a certain toughness that you got to have as a tailgater that way. But I never got home and said, man, I wish I didn't go to the game. I've always been the exact opposite. Like, man, that was a long day. It was tiring, but it was great. And that's it. So all of you that are going down the tailgate, it's awesome. I didn't go downstairs and grab. I've got my set of bocce balls that I've taken over to the golf course before, and the bocce's great anywhere. Any kind of tailgate game, any kind of park or anything, but the Michigan golf course, you get out there on the fairways, man. You can roll that bocce ball for 100 yards. It's a great way to tailgate. Now, the best thing, bocce is up there. Number one on my tailgate list is just a football. That's all I need. You just give me a football, and whoever else is there, I'll throw the football back and forth. I don't have to be running, 100 yards, 50 yards, wearing out my arm or anything. Nothing wrong. Just a couple 10-yarders, 25 yards, whatever, throwing it around, man. It is, it's great to do. So, yeah, it's exciting. Tailgate's exciting. Tailgating, you're going to the game. It is, there's nothing like it. And then I was just looking at the menu. You probably already have as well. Just talked about the game last night. It is a great menu tomorrow, starting with Michigan. You've got Michigan, and then you've got at least two in the 3:30 window that are going to be exciting games. There's a game at 7 o'clock that I'm interested in. There's that game at 7:30. So really from noon to 10:30, there's 10 and a half hours straight of football to watch tomorrow, which is great. Here's Antoine right off the jump. And if you're out there and you want to get in, tell us what you're looking forward to tomorrow. What's on your mind for excitement for the game? Antoine saying that Purdue coach gave the game away. They refused to run the ball, kill the clock. They gave Penn State multiple chances to come back, and Old Man Clifford escaped. Yeah, Old Man Clifford got knocked out the one time. I didn't think that was a penalty where the guy was on there. I know he twisted his leg, but I mean, he was diving for his legs. I guess you can't do that, so maybe it was a penalty. But I thought Penn State might have been in trouble. I thought Penn State was in trouble when they threw the interception for the pick six. I thought they were in trouble there. But you're right. I mean, that offense, they didn't try really to run the ball the whole game. And, I'm thinking with 5 minutes to go, Do you then, when you don't run the football all game, can you run the ball out? Now, you can. It can happen. You can turn around and hand it off three straight times. And they could have gotten it down to, I don't know, 3 minutes. And then their defense came up big and they got the ball back. Could they have done it again and got it down to maybe 2 minutes? There were some timeouts. They had to start using their timeouts. They needed to take it down and score again when it was just a 3-point game like that. They had to be able to do that. That's the part of that offense. If you can't line it up and run the clock out, and there's not a lot of teams that can. So I know everybody's focused on that. It's like, yeah, that's what you would like to be able to do. You'd like to be able to line up and be able to kill 5 minutes. How many teams in the country are able to line up, Antoine, and kill 5 minutes off the clock? I know everybody, for good reason, is frying the Boilers for not being able to run out the clock, but they were never running out the clock. And I don't know how many teams out there are able to run out the clock. The game now, for more teams than not, is if you got the ball with 5 minutes, you better not be sitting on it, running the ball, and because you're just giving it right back over. You better move the ball down and you better score again. And if you can get up by 2 scores, that's the way you're going to win it. So yeah, it's nice to be able to take 5 minutes or 3 minutes, and they could have had them, burning some of their timeouts, and it was part of it. But they needed to make the plays. In the passing game, I was amazed, and it happened on both sides. I don't know if this jumped out to you, Antoine, or anybody else. There were, so what do you get? O'Connell and Penn State's quarterback, in there, Clifford. These guys were throwing passes in triple coverage over the middle, and they were completing them, and they kept doing it. They were forcing the ball in. I don't know. You say this, you watch football sometimes, and you say, I don't know if I've ever seen that. But when I saw it the first time, because even what was it, Joel Klatt, like, wow, that was kind of an ill-advised pass. And I was thinking, yeah, he called it the Bermuda Triangle because you had 3 defenders there. The one time the Purdue guy is going down, almost makes a great catch. Both sides, I would say there were, 4 or 5 passes into triple coverage, and they completed, 3 or 4 of them. I don't know if I had ever seen that. Maybe the camera work was good. Whatever they were doing, both teams were able to do that. But I think if you're Purdue, and that's going to be a problem, not being able to run the clock out, you got to be able to. They were making the plays on defense. You're expecting them really to line up. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting them to go down and score again. That's the way they're going to win football games. And, if they're not going to be able to do that, they're not going to be able to do that. U of M golf course, barbecue, game. That's R2's game plan. Oh, the golf course is the place to be. There's great places. Groundhog's Day, the movie, I always thought, give me tomorrow. Give me all day long. I'll go to the golf course. I'll go to the game. I'll go afterwards. I'll watch the 3:30 games. I'll stay. I don't know, can you stay on the golf course till 10 o'clock at night when the Ohio State game? My guess is that you watch that 3:30 one and then you go somewhere, and maybe you can get home and watch Notre Dame and Ohio State. But if it was Groundhog's Day, so I would get home and then I would watch Notre Dame and Ohio State, and I would go to sleep and I would wake up, and then it would be September 3rd again. Except I wouldn't go to that tailgate. I would go to the one right next to it. And then when I went to the game, instead of sitting wherever I was sitting, I could do that for 100,000 Saturdays. Can I? I don't know. There's just so many great places to go. I'm with it, man. The golf course is the place to be, man. I love it. Love the golf course. And yeah, barbecue and football. Let's just go. I haven't got, I was going to tell myself, make sure you just get into what you're talking about quicker. Let's just inform everybody what we are talking about today, and then I'll start reading some of the feedback and whatnot. We are going to get to Cade McNamara and what he is going to do to impress everybody. I'll have a prediction for the game tomorrow and things to look for. I'm just talking about what's exciting right now, and I've gone to the tailgate, gone to the game, go to the post game, and it's just football all day long. That's exciting that we're here and that we're on the eve and that we had some games last night. I'm going to have a game tonight in the Big Ten and able to watch Michigan State, see what they have in store and their annual Friday night game up. I don't know if it's always in East Lansing. I think one time they went over to Western, didn't they, a couple years ago? But it will be up in East Lansing tonight. So I'll get to some feedback and then I'll jump into those topics that I had there. Treppa liked Penn State's defense. They fly to the ball and try to punch it out all game. You know who stood out on that Penn State defense was that corner, the big rangy corner. It was Joey Porter's son, the former Steeler. Big kid, 6'2", looked like a great athlete. He had a pick six early in that game, and they were testing him, and he was up to the challenge a bunch. That was a pretty good corner from what I could see. And I see what you're saying about, trying to punch that ball and get some turnovers, Treppa. Antoine, talking about running that clock out last night, says you don't necessarily have to score, but you have to take some time off the clock. Every incomplete pass stops the clock. He gave Penn State a chance. It was stupid play calling by the Purdue coach. Well, go ahead and complain to Brom all you want. I'm telling you, Antoine, if you were the coach and you were running the ball last night, it would have been 3 and out, and Penn State would have got the ball back with 5 minutes to go, and then you would have got it back with 3 minutes to go, and then you would have went 3 and out again. You may have been able to take it down and made them use their timeouts, but they were always getting the ball back. You were not running the clock out unless you were able to get some first downs. So I know you and almost everybody that I've seen is talking about terrible play calling, and you have to be able to get some first downs. They weren't in a situation where they could just take a knee. Penn State had all of their timeouts. No, they needed to get some first downs. Could they have gotten some first downs and mixed in some runs? Yes. But I think it's too easy where you're at talking about it, and you and the other 100 people that I've seen, I think, are getting it wrong. No, they needed to move the ball. And so, yeah, they were going to have to throw it. They weren't getting any first downs. Yes, if you wanted to kill the clock, being able to have Hassan Haskins and the Michigan offensive line, that would have been just great. Never give them the ball back. Win the ball game like that. Don't throw it. Just run it. They needed to get some first downs to be able to put themselves in the position to do that. And they weren't able to get those first downs. And they weren't able to run the ball last year. They weren't able to run the ball last night. So what makes you or anyone else think, but 5 minutes to go in Penn State with all 3 of their timeouts, you're backed up to your 20, like, let's just hand it off 3 times. That's the way we're going to win the game. Because you know what would have happened? They would have run the ball 3 times right into the line, Antoine. That's what would have happened. And they would have kicked. Then everybody was saying, why don't you do what you've been doing all game? Throwing the ball, move the ball down the field. That you're playing a prevent offense. That's what you would have been saying. I just want you to recognize that. It's football. It was good. I was waiting for a little sparring on a Friday to go back and talk about some situational football last night. I like it. You and I are always on the same page there, Antoine. Not to start this one off. Penn State might have a quarterback controversy. Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, the big kid that was a true freshman and everything else. Singleton, the 5-star for Penn State, was a bummer. Started with a 10-yard run and then ran it 8 times for 12 yards. Yikes. Yeah, Travis. I'm with you on that. That first play of the game, I was like, uh-oh. What number is he wearing, 10? I think the second carry, he might have got a couple as well. I was thinking, if Penn State has a running game, uh-oh. But, yeah, they abandoned it. Yeah, I think you get a lot. If I was a Penn State fan, they don't give themselves like it's hard running the ball. It takes not just practice. You have to repeatedly get in there and wear on the defense. You can't just try it a couple times and then Penn State, they're lining up and here they are 4 or 5 wide, nobody behind them. It's like you guys aren't running the ball. No wonder you can't run the ball. You don't even give it a chance. It's like they came out in the first series and it was all fall ball. Like, we're going to be tough and we're going to run the ball. And then they came out and did it. And then they're like, no, forget this. Let's just go 5 wide, throwing it around. But I'm with you on Singleton. It's like they have found their back. Not so fast. K2. Purdue was playing 2 defensively. Then all of a sudden, flip the script. I love the game. It was a great atmosphere. Purdue came to play. They were throwing the ball around. It looked pretty good. And then, they were just hanging in. It was a good game, back and forth. And then Penn State, Purdue late in that first half, you're thinking, go down here and get some points. They turn it over. Penn State, what do they have, 60, 70-yard play with, under a minute? Going into the half like that, those are backbreakers. I thought that broke the Boilers' back. But Purdue, to their credit, came back and hung in there. And then they got their big 76-yard interception return that had that place going bonkers. And, I was thinking that they were going to have a pretty good chance to win that game. That was big. That was I'd say Big Ten football, because most people think Big Ten football, you're lining up and just, running the ball. That was a entertaining Big Ten game. And I admit, I wasn't expecting a lot from the entertainment side of things between Northwestern and Nebraska last week in Ireland, but that was a highly entertaining game. That really was, man. I watched that one from front to back last night. I watched the whole thing. Very entertaining game. We've got a Big Ten game tonight, don't we, with Indiana and Illinois. Maybe, the Michigan State game, because State might work them over pretty quickly, pretty fast. Maybe it's Illinois, Indiana is the one to watch, if any indication of those first 2 Big Ten games, Venice thinks Penn State is going to be tough. They got some good players. They do. Yeah, that was never going to be easy with Penn State. They've been recruiting good, and Franklin makes some boneheaded plays in some games. There's nothing new about that, but Penn State, wherever the game's going to be played this year in Ann Arbor, this year on October 15th. When we start thinking about it, that's not that far away. Let's see what Mac has to say. He thinks the defense is better than the offense this year. The spring game offense had a hard time moving the ball, running or passing. We know who the leader of the defense is. It's Smith, no doubt. So you're talking about Michigan, and you want to make the case that the defense is better than the offense this year. Yeah, I am going to disagree with that. That would be great if the defense was that good. But, Michigan's offense might be, just pause because people will be like, what are you talking? It might be the best in the country. Now you say it might not be the best in the Big Ten East. That's fair because Ohio State, averaged 45 points a game last year, and all those players are back. You say, not their 2 wide receivers that won the top 10. Yeah, but the 2 behind them they're better than Olave and Wilson, and Olave and Wilson were great. So Ohio State, on paper, heading into this season, has the best offense in the country. Michigan is not taking a back seat to anybody when it comes to offense. Their line was voted the best. We all know the Joe Moore Award. It's probably better than it was last year. The receivers are better. I mean, they add Ronnie Bell and Darius Clemens and Tyler Morris. It's better. Their tight end, Schoonmaker, it took him a minute before he came on and was, a factor, but he's ready to go. Michigan's got two really good tight ends. I mean, we talked about the quarterbacks right down the line, running backs. Yeah, Haskins was a fabulous back. But the two guys that are there now, I think are going to be drafted, if this means anything, and it does to me, in the NFL draft higher than Hassan Haskins was. They're loaded. Now, I don't know, like maybe I'm not ready to anoint the Michigan defense for anything. And what I don't know, they had the high-end NFL talent last year. And we don't know. Mozzie and DJ Turner, and they've got a bunch of candidates. We got to see the candidates go out there and start flying around and make some plays. It could be a better defense overall. Because lost in the TFLs and the big plays that Hutchinson and Ajabo were making, lost in that was that Michigan let Nebraska score 29 points in the half against them last year. 1/2. Lost in that is the Spartans almost put 40 points up on them, and Michigan couldn't. They were outflanked and outcoached and couldn't get their running back on the ground. That was a big deal. Now, they bounced back, and I'm not making it sound like the defense was suspect or anything, but they also weren't some kind of stalwart. They made plays when they had to. And that's what you want, really, to make it sound like I'm playing both sides of the fence or anything. I'm not. Statistically, Michigan could have a better defense, but then it's really about in the big moments, and you may think this sounds elementary or whatever else, but it's making those big plays in the fourth quarter. Brad Hawkins against Nebraska last year, when, that game, Nebraska came back, took the lead, Michigan's offense kept answering. That was good by Michigan's offense. But Hawkins, late in that game, made the big play for Michigan to get that win. And the defense did get better. Like Penn State, certainly all had the 47-yard touchdown, but Michigan had Jahan Dotson out there and Rod Moore stopping him on a fourth down. Michigan needing a 4-and-out late in that game in Happy Valley. Their defense coming up big. And then Hutchinson did play great. One of the great games ever in college football history. I know it's true. The game that Hutchinson had against Ohio State. Okay, let's take some more feedback, and then we will get into what we're expecting to see tomorrow. Let's see, Venice. You can run to get a first down. Yeah, you can do that, but it is hard to do. Let's see what Andres has to say. The real problem is the pass-first offense like Penn State and Purdue, often inconsistent, and that style of play showed even when Purdue seemed to have the game under control, they really didn't. Yeah, passing is great and being able to move down the field until you have to kill some clock. Right. I mean, that's when you're like, ooh, we'd like to have this a part of our game, but you can't just be physical and then line up. It's very hard to do. Very hard. Jesse said when it's 3rd and 25, you don't throw the ball. You burn the time. Throwing was dumb. All right. You guys win on it. You guys win. Purdue was stupid. They should have been running the ball every time, or just on that 3rd and 25, and they would have won it. I'll concede it to you guys, even though I don't believe it. Fine. Ricky says, can't wait to see Cade and JJ. Hope they really push the ball down the field. Leave no doubt what they're trying to do tomorrow. And Bale says, no matter how good Cade does tomorrow, this is JJ's job. This will ensure the future of 5 stars recruiting for Michigan. Well, that's a heck of a statement. Now, and there might be some truth into that, and that's what happens when you play a game like this, is that it opens a decision like Harbaugh has made, an indecision, up to all kinds of conjecture. So anything that you say, and it might be. Harbaugh might be like, ooh, we've got some 5-stars that are thinking about us, but they want to know if they could really get a shot, and this is going to show them. Does that play into it? You could say, Harbaugh is just doing what's best for this Michigan team right now. Maybe he is. Maybe he knows that he's got these 2 easy games and that he can do all of it. As long as it doesn't screw with the team chemistry and the psyche of his 2 quarterbacks, and he's got to know them. And everything that we have seen from both McNamara and McCarthy is that these guys have their feet on the ground, that they are team first guys, but how much can you play with that with the other guy out there? At some point, you are going to have to make a decision. Can you play it on both sides and make them all happy? Because there could be. Here's the side. Like, I saw some people were upset at there are folks saying, hey, this could be trouble for Michigan. Harbaugh with his 2 quarterback system here. This could spell big trouble in Ann Arbor. It could. Like, this is unconventional what Harbaugh is doing. You might think it's great, but you're also a Michigan fan. If you look to the other side, this can create problems within the team, factions within the team. It can screw with your chemistry. It can mess with the psyche of your quarterbacks. All of that is true. I endorse playing J.J. McCarthy, and he didn't have a spring to compete for the job. He's too bad. Well, you are afforded an opportunity by having a schedule like you have it. But let's not act like, people that are criticizing this. Now, sure, they might be Spartan fans or Ohio State fans. Don't listen to them. I don't know why you would. But even the national people are like, ooh, this could be an issue. That guy's a jerk. I mean, look, it's going to be talked about because it's a popular team. Harbaugh's a popular guy to talk about, and it is different. Nobody else has ever done this like this. Scant few, like we talked about before. You can say, what about whatever? That doesn't happen very much. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of criticism. You should just take that as a fan. It doesn't mean that necessarily that the person saying it is, clickbait. Well, there are some. I don't need to point out the clickbait people, but there were some for sure. And I'll give you a guess. If you're running a talk show and you want people to call in, are you just going to be like, let's just all see how it plays out with the 2 quarterbacks, and let's all put our trust behind Jim Harbaugh? That's not what you're doing. What if you're trying to get the phones to ring? You'll say, how is this going to cost Michigan down the line? And then, the phones start to ring and you just go crazy. So it depends what you're trying to run, Eddie with a point saying that probably going to get a pretty bland offense unless Colorado State keeps it close, but that won't happen. I don't think bland. Now, Eddie, you could be right. Before I talk about that, let me talk about this. Coming up in a couple hours, it's the debut of Sharpening the Edge, a podcast here on the Maize and Blue Review. Brandon Justice writes Sharpening the Edge last year, and he brought to the table in column form a bunch of different selections in the college pro game, all kinds of different picks, from over and unders to parlays to flat out winners, all of that. And now he was taking his skills to the airwaves. I'm going to help him this afternoon. If you are somebody who likes to pick the games and you have fun doing that, you're going to have fun with this podcast. So check it out. We are going live today at 5:00. I can't wait for that. All right. Now, Eddie, let's put his thought here again. He might be right. Pretty bland offense. Is Michigan going to come out and just run it down Colorado State's throat? They could, Eddie. I actually hope. What was it? The Northern Illinois game last year that Michigan ran their first 9 drives. They got touchdowns, and they had 8 rushing TDs last year against Northern Illinois. And, then they did, open it up a little bit. They threw the ball down the field like, okay, there you go. You get your long throw to Cornelius Johnson. And, of course, the game before Northern Illinois, it was ground and pound against Washington to the tune of 56 carries for 343 yards. But, I don't know, Eddie, remember last year, the Western game? Ronnie Bell had a 76-yard touchdown. J.J. McCarthy threw that cross-field, cross-body 69-yard touchdown to Dalen Baldwin. A.J. Henning had a 74-yard end-around touchdown last year. Blake Corum had an 80-yard kickoff return and didn't even score on it. That's a lot of big plays. And I'm thinking, or maybe it's just hoping, because we are expected to see Cade McNamara show what he can do. I've seen Cade hand the ball off a million times. Mozzie Smith could play quarterback for Michigan, and they could just hand it off all the time, and yeah, they could beat Colorado State. This is a 2-game tryout, and you only get the 1 game as a starter. Cade McNamara needs to show a little something. And, this is the part where you start saying, well, Harbaugh better do this or Matt Weiss. Well, they better allow Cade McNamara, because I know what Cade McNamara does really well. He runs the team, gets them in the line, they know how to plays, finds the different players. But you know what? Cade McNamara needs to show, it was the Ricky who said it, he needs to show that he can throw the ball down the field and connect. He needs to show that he can whip it around. We need to see that. If we do not see it, if we see very limited opportunities for air yards and throwing the ball down the field, chunk plays from McNamara, it's a lot of handoff, touchdown, victors, woo, Michigan wins the game. And then next week, McCarthy's throwing it way down the field, and he's blasting it 50 yards in the air. McCarthy should win the job. But these guys got to give McNamara a chance to show what he can do. You have the opponent that allows you to do this. So, Eddie, I hope it's not the boring game of running the football like last year against Northern Illinois. We're looking for an explosive offense with McNamara at the controls. Now, on the other side, I think both sides are intriguing. It's the opener. Everything's intriguing. I want to see Michigan do everything on defense. I want to see all of these guys, every one of them that we have been talking about. I could list the entire defense, probably 30, 40 guys here, certainly 22. Then I want to see out there in the 2 deep and then beyond. I want everyone to play. I want to see all of it. And I know that Jesse Minter has called plays before, but I want to see what his play calling looks like. What does he got some bread and butter that he's putting out there? Does he look like he's more of a blitzer than McDonald? What is he going to do? Not going to have any hints in a Minter defense. And on the other side, Weiss. Maybe he is just going to go into a I was going to say a running shell, and he's going to run the ball like Eddie says. With McNamara trying to win the quarterback job, they're going to let him throw the ball, 6 times. They're going to let him throw it 12 times. You better unleash McNamara and let him do some things, because you give him a shot downfield and he doesn't connect, like that first pass in the spring game, those groans are going to be all over the stadium. Fair or unfair, and this is, the Michigan fans, when you put your quarterbacks in a 2-game tryout against the opponents on the other side, everybody's going to draw huge conclusions on everything that happens, and you put yourself in the position to do it. Before, we always had to say, well, we're not at practice. We can't see any throws. You just got to give it to the coach. We're going to see all the throws tomorrow. We're going to see all of it from McNamara. They better allow him to do some things. It's just like the following week. It's definitely going to make some, it's going to create waves with the fan base. You're making them pick sides. And again, don't make it sound like I'm negative towards Harbaugh in this plan. I endorse the plan. I like it. I'm not ready to call it magnificent or he's a genius. I don't think it's that. I don't think he's stupid for doing it. I think that he is just like you want to take what the defense gives you when you're a play caller. You also want to take what the season gives you when you have a schedule like this. And because you had an injury and you do have this, what we think could be a prodigy, could be a great quarterback who has a higher ceiling. I know people don't like to hear that. He might, with the wheels and the arm and everything else. You better let McNamara try to defend it tomorrow. Because there's a part about this, if it is like Eddie suggests, boring, bland, what did he say? A bland Michigan offense with McNamara? If it's a bland offense and they come out and let JJ run around and do some things, well, it's going to look like you didn't give McNamara a fair shot, because then you should then start McCarthy for game 3. If you don't trust McNamara to throw the ball down the field and you feel like we just got to come out and run the football because that's what JJ does. My wife's getting the meal plan ready for tomorrow. Better give her the thumbs up. Where was I? Oh, yeah. You better let McNamara show what he can do in the passing game. How many times have I said that now? Do I need to say it again? It's just, hey, it was you, Eddie. Eddie says probably a pretty bland offense tomorrow. Eddie. Eddie, you could be right. I hope not. Get some more of the feedback. Mac. There's nothing wrong with Cade for the next 2 years if he beats Ohio State, Michigan State, and wins another Big Ten championship. Oh, yeah, Mac, you're right. There's nothing wrong with Cade. Cade goes out there and wins a championship over the next 2 years, and he's the starter. Great. That's the thing. We make our predictions and we say, hey, this is what we think is going to be best for the team. This is what we know. And then we'll have a lot more ammunition for our opinions over the next 2 weeks. But I really don't care which guy wins. If Michigan's able to get the best out of him and they're able to get the best out of the team with whoever that quarterback is. I don't care. I don't have, there's nothing. Like each player out there, I hope for I think I'll just speak for all Michigan fans. Don't all Michigan fans, as soon as somebody commits, you say, hey, I hope the kid comes here and is able to, use this experience for everything to set him up for the rest of his life. If that means pro football and he can maximize whatever the best version of him is, go after it. If it's not that, and it's school and whatever it is, all the best. And so for these two quarterbacks, I don't have a knock on either of them. I don't know either of them. I don't know their family. I'm not trying to connect with anybody in the family or anything else. I'd like to see which quarterback, and I'm going to have opinion on it. I already have one. I've already made some predictions, but I'm going to have more after these 2 games on who I think it should be. But if it's not that guy and it's the other guy, congratulations. And I hope that he goes out there and utilizes his talent. Again, I know that when you get to people saying, well, this is stupid or that, I think they say that and they don't really mean it. I mean, you might, and sometimes it's cushioning the blow because they're never going to beat Ohio State if they go with McNamara, and then they lose to Ohio State and you say, I told you so. So you might be right. We're all trying to make our predictions. It's here. This is all of what we were doing all off summer, but now we've got game time and we're zeroing in on it that quickly. Old Eddie telling me a pretty bland offense tomorrow. Oh, Eddie, you just lined it up for me. Couple more of the predictions before we get back to our next item about tomorrow. This is from BA on the feedback, who writes in, this Michigan staff is far from stupid. They have a lot of respect for Cade because what he accomplished last year, rightfully so. But you're not going to compete with Alabama and Georgia with Cade. Well, what you're doing, and you might be right, and I tend to agree with what you're saying. I do have to go back, and it's all different. Dylan McCaffrey looked like a better, from what I've seen. McCarthy looks like he's got some wheels and he can run, but McCaffrey looked like he was a special runner. Better than even J.J. McCarthy. And the actual times that Dylan McCaffrey got in the game when he needed to against Notre Dame, when Shea Patterson had some cramps, and that game at Notre Dame, McCaffrey was good, played well in the limited time he was there. When he got to come in some different games, the Nebraska game, he took off from 80 yards. The play got called back. He looked like a special runner. He threw one for 80 yards in that game too. That did not get called back. What I am saying is that particular version, you're saying Michigan's got a Lamar Jackson type in Dylan McCaffrey. And he was highly rated. And the bloodlines, I mean, look at his brother, his dad, his grandparents on both sides, his mom, I mean, everything. And even though Shea was a 5-star, Shea couldn't throw the ball down the field with accuracy. Facts. And then they got to this offseason, and Joe Milton in shorts was the prototype player. He could, at 6'5", just effortlessly throw the ball in shorts, 80 yards, and just, and it was so great that they handed Joe Milton the job, not even putting him through a practice. Bicycle shorts and flip-flops, give Milton the job. I just say all that because when we are part of this is you and me. We are tantalized by people saying that J.J. McCarthy is a 5-star. That's going to be part of it. The other part is that the flashes that we have seen, the guy looks like, he's this modern day Patrick Mahomes running around, throwing the ball. Woo! Everywhere it goes. I mean, he's and he's the backup, all of that. And so, yeah, you're like, woo, this is the kind of team, this is the kind of quarterback, if it all comes together, that's how you beat Alabama. And I think there's some truth to that, but you just have to go back to McCaffrey. And I know that he transferred and, he didn't do anything at wherever he went, Northern Colorado, and we haven't heard from him since and all that. So they made the right decision. I get all that. There's a point to that. My point is that he looked pretty good when he was out there for Michigan. And I know JJ has as well. But it doesn't mean there's still a chance, folks. You really don't want to hear this? I really don't want to say it, but I'm going to anyways. There's a chance that J.J. McCarthy isn't all of that. Like, he's not destined to be a great college quarterback. He might be. I know you hope that he's going to be that way, but there's a chance that he's not. And there's a chance that Cade is just a good college quarterback that you can win with. You don't like hearing it. I'm sorry. I didn't like saying it. But I said it. And now we will move on. the punters, who's just been coming in on the show in August. And I'm going to say he's a very welcome addition. Makes, I don't know, I haven't read his point yet. I was going to say makes good points all the time, and yet let's see. That's a real challenge because let's see what he says here. Do you find it interesting that they have major recruits visit during the McCarthy-Hawaii game? Yeah, I find it interesting. I do. It plays into that, Jim's going to let the 5-star, even though, Rival said that McCarthy is a 5-star, he's going to let the hot shot QB at the night game when he's bringing in Jaden Davis. Woo! Yeah, I find that interesting. Now, I don't know. I don't know how much that had to do with it. I still think it might. I think everything factors in, doesn't it? Like, doesn't hurt. People say that, Harbaugh just got his blinders on and just worried about tomorrow's game. He's got to look all over the place. No, I think if Harbaugh gets on the phone to Jaden Davis, like he's talking to him today, that he's going to be like, woo, it's going to be on fire. However Harbaugh talks, I don't know. It's going to be, what would Harbaugh say? It's going to be an excellent environment, Jaden. Keep an eye on number 9. That could be you. I mean, he could say things like that. Sure. Is he going to say, see, no matter who's the quarterback, we're going to give you a shot? He's not going to say something like that. Is it Jaden Davis's dad who came in and said, I just need a promise that you're going to let my guy compete. And I don't know how you're going to give me an example that you're going to let my guy compete, even if there's a quarterback that's starting in front of him. That's what we really want to know, Jim. Now, I don't know if he said that. And this is Harbaugh's way of showing the Davis family. I don't know. Maybe. Feedback of the day is from Eddie. And Eddie, I'm going to prepare myself for your point. I have not been able to get to it yet. It's sitting right there, but it's coming up. So what I am looking for is not that bland offense that Eddie was talking about. I'm looking for an explosive offense with Cade McNamara pushing the ball down the field. I want to see the kitchen sink thrown by the defense with everything out there, and obviously the quarterback play. So the things that Harbaugh said that he's going to be looking for: points per drive, red zone efficiency, 2-minute efficiency, third down efficiency. Those are all fine things. I would add air yards, throwing the ball down the field before somebody catches it, chunk plays, driving the ball down the field. Cade, that's what we want to see. That one's going to be as big as any of those other ones. So that's what I'm looking for. I want to remind you before we get to Eddie and his feedback that following the game tomorrow, both myself and Jim Scarcelli will be on. The game ends within a minute or two, 5 minutes, no longer than 10. We fire up the same system, and we will talk about it all. And Scarcelli will diagram some plays. I will grab a series or two that I've enjoyed, and I will put it up there for your viewing pleasure and for a chance to go back and relive some of the plays. And then the great part, like, you're going to be like, I'm going to be watching those 3:30 games. Fair. Very fair. But what you want to know is that when it's all said and done at 10:30 tomorrow, there might be some really late games, but I have 10 and a half hours of football. But you might be sitting back and sitting outside at 11 o'clock last night. And you're just like, I want to hear about Michigan. I want to relive the Michigan game. Well, go to the podcast then. Certainly when you wake up on Sunday morning, you get up at 5 or 6 o'clock, go out, and you're going to get your exercise in, you take your dog out, whatever else you're going to say. I want to hear people talk about Michigan and the game yesterday. Well, that's when you fire up the podcast. So that's available for you tomorrow as well. Okay, here it is. It's Eddie. What's Eddie saying? Eddie says he was referring to the play calling. Doubt they would open up the playbook with a comfortable lead. I think we'll see a lot of run plays, but not necessarily no big plays. Yeah, Eddie, I was just having fun with you. There's little things that can, what do they say, they trigger you? Like, and Eddie was like, we're probably going to see a bland. Everybody's all fired up for the game and everything. Eddie's like, probably going to see a bland game tomorrow with no excitement, no fireworks. I want fireworks, Eddie. So you're talking about the play calling. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I know coaches are so like, let's put something on film that they have to then practice for. Scarcelli's all the time, like, now they have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. I get that these guys watch all the film and they better look into that. But if they don't show a reverse, I'd like these other teams, like, they know Michigan's got A.J. Henning, and they're going to be like, if Michigan gives the ball to A.J. Henning on a reverse, is going to be like, oh, now the other teams are going to have that reminder. They know A.J. Henning is really good running the ball. Like, do I think that they should put A.J. Henning in the backfield? And do I think they should motion Donovan Edwards out as a wide receiver and sometimes throw the ball to Donovan Edwards and other times give it to A.J. Henning out of the backfield? A la Deebo Samuel? I think that they should do that. I hope that they do that. Is it going to hurt Michigan if they put that play in, if they're up 21-0 in the first quarter? Oh, no, Iowa, now that they're going to have to prepare for that. There won't be the element of surprise. All right, I know. I carry on about it, but I know that I think coaches go a little bit overboard on let's not turn the page in the playbook. And the thing is, Harbaugh is the one that did this. If Harbaugh wasn't going to a 2-season tryout for quarterback, then we could all say, hey, whatever they want to do. But it's not whatever they want to do. It's, hey, let's see what the quarterbacks can do. Part of tomorrow. Where do you want to put it? I'll rank it right now, Eddie. What's the number one thing I want to see tomorrow? A win. Number 2 is I want to see Cade McNamara throwing the ball down the field. Number 3, I want to see everybody play on defense. If McNamara was already named the starter, it would be nice to be able to see him throw the ball down the field and say, hey, there's something the other team's going to have to prepare for. And of course, we would be waiting to see what kind of backup plan that they would have or rotation. Remember, JJ played a lot last year against Western and the non-conference because those games were all blowouts. Not Washington so much until it was just 10-0 at the half. But I get what you're saying, Eddie. Tank. Jim's trying to get him to think pass first. All right. Adrian's working on the eve of the opener. Hey, it happens. You're out there. You guys, that's how you can afford going down to the games and paying those exorbitant prices. That's how you're able to have that Michigan trailer in your additional garage that you could pull out at 5:00 tomorrow with $400 of meat and drinks with a TV in the back, going to your spot over there at Pioneer over to the golf course. I mean, so Adrian, I get it. That's why you got to get out. You can't just sit around watching Michigan football today every day as much as you'd like to. I feel like just sitting here till the games tomorrow. That's what I'm waiting for. But actually, we are going to pick some games later here on the Maize and Blue Review with the debut of Sharpening the Edge. So I am looking forward to that. I do actually have to, like Adrian, do some work around here. For those of you that did not hear, the power went out. And so it's not just the power comes back and everything's just great. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that need to be thrown out and cleaned. And so while you guys are all putting everything on ice for the game tomorrow, I might be wiping out a freezer. Good to see, though, Adrian in here. How many plus 40-yard plays tomorrow? Let's see. What, they had 4 in the opener last year? Yard Dad, put me down for 4 this year. I'm glad Eddie knows I was just having fun with him. Brando wants to see Orgy get some reps. Yeah, okay. I want to see Davis Warren. I want to see McNamara be able to do his thing. I don't really care that JJ's playing tomorrow, but fine. I mean, that's going to be part of. Maybe that's however they use JJ is going to be put down and compared to how they do the rotation next week. So that's obviously something we're going to keep an eye on. Davis Warren. When you're not worried about the backup quarterback, you're worried about the third guy. Davis Warren showed that he could throw the ball and throw it around the lot in the spring game. See a little bit of that. And then, well, they got Bowman. Would I rather see Bowman come in and hand the ball off, or would I like to see Orgy? I want Orgy too, Brano. Heck, he might be their short yardage specialist. But maybe they want to spring it out there because Iowa will be. I'm just having fun. Now, I'm just having fun. Reps. Through the air. Want to see 50 points from Victor's Valiant. Well, go blue from Kentucky. Let me tell you this, VV. When you say, what would be the perfect score? Usually for me, it's pretty easy, 50-0. I would like to see 50-0 tomorrow. There's a part of it, I try to remember when I was young and how I used to look at games. And then, to keep that youthful exuberance, and you get older and you don't want to be like, hey, you sound like one of those old curmudgeons in the press box, or, talking about the food or whatever else. And when I was younger, I remember, Joe Falls used to write about, the stale hot dogs in the Michigan press box. I'd say, I don't care, Joe. How about talking about the game? But I say that because you threw the 50 spot up there. It reminded me, Victor, that when I was young, I used to say, I want to see a 50-0 game. I haven't changed that. And you say, well, that's not very nice for the opponents, them getting shut out. Hey, they're taking the check. It's big boy football. This isn't, Division III. Everybody's going out there and everybody's holding hands. I mean, this is big time football. Division I. This is a blood sport. This is a gladiator sport. I would like to see Michigan go out there and get up 38-0 at the half and then cruise to a 50-0 victory. Everybody plays well, and put the goose egg over there as the defense gets that going. Same thing next week. That's how I used to think when I was young. I haven't lost that. Now, that doesn't mean everything's terrible if it doesn't go 50-0. In fact, I don't think it is going to be 50-0, and that gets you to my prediction. A little bit of a spoiler because I will be selecting this game and a few others coming up later on and sharpening the edge. Michigan is a 30.5-point favorite. I did not know that when I put on my thinking cap this morning. I had an idea of where the score was, but then I just started thinking, probably should, I don't think it's just going to be this bland game like Eddie was talking about, Eddie E. I think that Michigan is going to allow McNamara to throw the ball down the field, and they need to. They have to. They need to. They give him an opportunity. I think that allows for some more points for Michigan. And if McCarthy's coming in, he's going to want to show what he can do too. He's fighting for the starting job. He doesn't want to just hand the ball off. He wants to throw it down the field, or he wants to run around and make plays because he wants to win this starting job. So I think Michigan's going to score a lot more points than you would. And these are always tough because a lot of times it comes down to the fourth quarter. Michigan can name the score. Does Michigan want to cover that 30.5? I don't think Harbaugh cares about that. But is he just taking a knee If Davis Warren end up being a 3rd and 13, does he allow Davis Warren to throw the football? He will, I think. So I think Michigan's scoring over 40 points. I think Michigan's going to average over 40 points this year. I think the only thing that's going to stop Michigan from getting into the end zone is Jim Harbaugh calling off the dogs tomorrow, and I think that he will at some point in the middle of the fourth quarter. But I think Michigan gets over 40 points, and I think that defensively they don't get a shutout. I do think that Colorado State will score a touchdown and a couple field goals. Final 41-38. That does not cover the point spread. But that's how I feel about it. Do with it what you will. Doesn't mean I'm down on Michigan. I have them winning. I have them winning big. I just don't think they're covering the 30.5. Everybody, I appreciate you getting in. It's great to be back. We'll be with you following the game tomorrow. And if you miss all that, here on Monday as well to recap everything that went on. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the game tomorrow. I might just get up and listen to some Bob Ufer, which I've been known to do on opening Saturdays. I'll be up. I was going to say something stupid like 5 o'clock. I'll be up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. I'll be up early tomorrow. Opening Saturday of the college football season, kind of like Christmas and your birthday all at once. 10.5 hours of football with Michigan kicking everything off at 12 o'clock. We've waited a hell of a long time for it. Here it is. It's exciting. Maize and Blue Review's got all of your coverage. Join us. You want to know what Michigan's next move is on the recruiting front? What's going on in practice? What's everybody saying? I'm going to have to get Allen Iverson out of there. There's no more practice. Join us, michigan.rivals.com. Everybody have a great day. I'll be on a couple minutes after the game tomorrow. And then in a couple hours, I'll be on with Brandon Justice, sharpening the edge. We'll see how I do there. Till then, everybody have a great rest of their day.